This morning I'm going to set a pot of cheese, and I have a lot of milk that's, some of it's 5-6 days old in the fridge. And while they say goat's milk doesn't separate naturally like cow's milk does, it will separate somewhat if it sits long enough and it's very still. And I've already skimmed this much cream off of maybe a gallon of milk in there. And so I'm just going to take my spoon and I'm just going to scoop up the thick cream off the top of this jar. Let's see, this jar's from the 18th. Today's the 23rd. 18, 19, 21, 2, 3. So 4 days old. So not as thick as some of the jars that were a little bit older that I've already done. So there won't be as much cream to get off easily. But it is fairly thick. And then I will shake the jar up so that any cream clinging to the sides and stuff, that will help put it back into the milk. And I will put that in the pot. My Nubian girls just are making a lot of butter fat right now, especially my older girl that's been in milk for going on 18 months now. She does put a lot of butter fat in her milk. And you can't see my pot there. There's my pot. And I'm going to just put the lid on here and shake this up to get more of the cream off the sides of the jar. This is going to be a Clabber cheese, where I have just taken fresh milk right from the goat and filtered it right into a clean jar, and I cap it real loosely so I just barely start the threads on the jar, just to keep bugs and things out of it. And then I let it sit on the counter at room temperature for a few days anyway, and it will start to get a little bit soured. And that's what I've been making cheese with lately. And sometimes it comes out with a nice hard firm curd that I can drain and press in my cheese press in a mold and make kind of a semi-hard cheese, kind of like queso fresco. And the last batch, I was really tired. It was very late at night, and the curd was not firm, not what they call a clean break. It was still a little soft and milky. And what I did was I just went ahead and dumped it and drained it because I was exhausted and needed to go to bed. And that turned out to be a really wonderful version of Chev, which Chev cheese is the soft goat cheese that you might buy at the grocery store, sometimes in a little log that's had herbs or nuts or something added to it. And have been really enjoying it. I've given some to some of my friends and things, and they have really liked it. It's got just a little bit of a tang to it, and it's really delicious. Now, if you are only used to eating goat cheese from the store or goat milk from the store, and you find that it tastes very goaty, that's not the way homemade stuff comes out. At least not usually for me. I don't do that goaty flavor. To me, it's not pleasant. Tangy, a little sour, kind of like buttermilk or something, or yogurt, that's good, but not goaty. So, anyway, I got to get on and get some more jars out of the refrigerator, because we have some more that are getting a little on the old side. Okay, I was talking and not recording. So I have about a pint there, and maybe a quarter of a pint here of heavy thick cream. And those I am just going to cap and put in the freezer until I have lots of cream, and maybe I can make some butter. And then over here, that is probably around 3.5, maybe 3 3/4 gallons of milk. This pot holds just over 4 gallons if I fill it all the way up, almost to overflowing. I'm going to warm it up to about between 86 and 90 degrees, and then I'll pour in my quart of Clabber and wrap it up and let it sit for a while to culture. Okay, we're at about 82 degrees or so. So this Clabber culture has been in the refrigerator. It was made about the 11th. Today's the 23rd. And it sat on the counter a couple of days. And then I just put it in the refrigerator because I wasn't making any cheese right then. And so it's still pretty cold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in, and then I'm going to just stir it and let it warm up. It's really thick on top. So like that's the cream that came up while it sat. And that I could skim off and use that like sour cream. But today I'm just going to let it go ahead and be part of the cheese. Let's see, I scrape this jar down. And once this is all up to temperature, I'm going to put the lid on the pot and cover it with a towel to help keep it warm. Turn the heat off. And just let it sit here and stay warm for an hour or 2 or 4 or whatever until I get back to it, because I got a lot of things going on today. And then I will put the rennet in it. And so we're gonna stir this up really good. That cream's going to kind of melt a little bit into the milk. That did drop our temperature down to about 80. And I want to get this up to about 86, between 86 and 90. I don't really want to go over 90. But somewhere in that temperature range will keep it warm enough while it's culturing. And then when I get ready to put the rennet in it, I will check the temperature and make sure that it's still warm enough. So that's going to take a minute to get back up to temperature. And I'll see you in a bit. All right, so it's been, I don't know, an hour or 2. I've been outside working and doing things. And our temperature has dropped down to about 80, so I've turned the burner back on to warm it up. I'm going to warm it up to about 90. And while I wait for that to warm back up, I'm just going to take some distilled water, probably about a 1/4 cup or so. You want to use distilled water so there aren't any minerals or anything, or chlorine or anything like that that's going to interfere with your culture or your rennet. And then I use liquid animal rennet that I buy from a couple of suppliers online. And animal rennet is made from usually the stomach of a young calf. So for this about 4-gallon batch of milk, I'm going to use 1/4 of a teaspoon of rennet. I have discovered that if I get too much rennet, it makes the curd really tough and squeaky. And that usually for my milk and what I'm doing, about 1/8 of a teaspoon per gallon of milk is about right. So I'm just going to stir that into the distilled water. Check our temperature. We're almost at 90. And when we hit 90, I'm going to turn off the burner and we will stir the rennet. I'll stir the rennet in, and then we cover it back up and wait an hour to an hour and a half, depending sometimes on the milk, sometimes on the day. I don't know. I do not profess to be the world's best cheesemaker. I have probably almost as many flops as I have good things turn out. And sometimes I can't duplicate the best ones because I can't remember exactly what I did at what stage. But I have a lot of fun. And even if it flops, even if it gets a little coliform bacteria contamination and it kind of gets gassy and spongy and it smells kind of funny, I don't want to eat it. The chickens love it. So, go figure. So nothing is really totally wasted. And it can always be poured into the compost pile or dilute, you know, if it's watery, cheese whey, or even old milk. You can dilute it and pour it around your plants, especially tomatoes and peppers and eggplants. They all love milk because of the calcium and the bacteria and stuff in it. So, just all kinds of things you can do. Even when it flops, it's not really wasted. It can still go on and feed animals, plants, and do some good stuff. So let's see here. Yep, we just hit 90. So let's fix you up where you can see. Okay. So I have my cheese ladle, curd ladle, which is basically a big flat spoon with perforations in it. I did purchase online. I think I probably got it from Amazon a couple of years ago. And I'm going to pour my rennet over it to help disperse the rennet evenly through the pot. And then I'm going to stir it up and down because especially this is a big pot. And well, I want to make sure that the rennet is completely dispersed through the whole pot. I think I saw a little curd there. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of keep going up and down and around a couple of times so that I can see that it's well mixed. You don't really want to make whirlpools, because what will happen is that you will have funny breaks in the curd that match that whirlpool, which I don't suppose it makes a big deal, but we do want to make sure that this is thoroughly mixed from the top to the bottom because this is a big pot. Okay, and now the lid and the towel. And we'll come back in an hour or so. So it's been, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't remember now what time it was when I put the rennet in. And this is kind of somehow the way my cheese making ends up being. So this is probably a very good clean break. Yeah. So we have lots of totally separated curd and clear yellowish whey. So now I'm going to cut this curd to release most of the whey. And now they do make fancy cheese cutters. I'm just going to cut this into about 1/2-inch cubes or as close to that ideal as I can. Nothing in my life is ideal, so we'll just do the best we can here. It is a little bit tough. I probably could have come cut this a while ago and it would not be as firm. That's okay. It's still going to taste pretty good. After the curd is cut, so go that way, and now I'm going to go this way, across this way. Let me go back the other way a minute. It's trying to move around on me a lot, and that happens. So, which our cheese has cooled back down to about 84 degrees. So I am going to be warming it back up here in a little bit. But first I'm going to cut it. And the idea behind cutting the curd is that this will release more whey out of the curd. If you have a lot of whey and your curd is soft, then you have a soft cheese. If you have a firmer, drier curd, then that's what you can press and make into more like maybe queso fresca, maybe cheddar, Colby, all those hard pressed aged cheeses. I do not have a cheese cave. Let's see if we can slice sideways, but it probably won't work. It never does. So I have not yet really played around with really aged cheeses. I usually keep them around for a week or two and then put them in the freezer, because I don't have a place with the correct temperature and humidity control that I can make things like cheddar and Colby and stuff like that. So, and I'm just kind of lifting up curds and just whacking them into pieces, because that's just kind of the way I roll around here. We Alright, now I'm going to slowly warm this back up to about 90 degrees. Stirring it every few minutes. Cutting up any more big chunks of curd that I find. There might be a tiny brown bit. Okay, so like this, that was probably, actually it looks like an onion skin. Don't ask. I have no idea how that probably got in there. Who knows? Alrighty, we'll be back in a minute. Alrighty, we've been up to about 90 degrees for a little bit, and I'm going to, I turned the burner off. I'm going to just let the curd sit for a few minutes and they will sink to the bottom, and then I'm gonna dip off the whey. In the meantime, I have a bowl that's always handy, a colander with a cheesecloth down in it, my cheese press, my molds and followers, and I have just slopped some boiling water over the top of them to help sanitize them, because I never know what's flying around in my kitchen. I don't know if I can get this filmed or not, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to dip some whey. And I have my colander, and let me change this. Okay, I have my colander sitting over a sanitized 5-gallon bucket with my butter muslin, and I'm just dipping as much whey as I can off before I dip out curds. It just is easier and to me to do it this way. That's all I'm doing now. So I have most of the whey out, and now I'm just going to dump all of this into the colander. And I have a big mat of curd sitting in my butter muslin. It just want to sit level. This is usually pretty messy. I'm just going to break up the amount of curd a little bit. This has a lot of whey in it. And then we'll let it sit and drain for a little bit. And then I'll probably salt it. And then I'll pack it into my molds. Okay. So I've broken up the curd a little bit. It had matted together. And now I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of salt. I have about 4 tablespoons of salt here because I had about 4 gallons of milk. And then I'm just going to mix this in, and I'll do that until I have all the salt incorporated. All right, I have a cookie sheet with my cheese press and my molds. And now we're going to start packing the curds into the molds, and I'm going to press them down as hard as I can. These might have drained a little too much. I don't know. They're a little springy. At this stage, if you taste them, they're probably a little squeaky, and they might even taste like they have too much salt. I do about a tablespoon of salt for each gallon of milk I started with. And sometimes that will taste a little bit too salty at this point. But what I found is that these curds, especially the bigger bits, still have some whey in them, and as the whey comes out, the salt is going with it, so it won't taste that salty when we're done. And then my other thing is that I don't have separate little cloths for each of my molds. That is on my list of things to order some more butter muslin and then cut it up to fit each mold. But I have found I can do a stack of molds with just one butter muslin. So I packed that one, and now I'm going to lay the side of the muslin over the top, and I will put a follower on. And I'm going to press it down. That looks pretty good. And now I'm going to put another one on top of that. And I'm going to bring another piece of butter muslin over the top of this. And just smooth it out as good as I can. And neat as I can. When I do this much milk, it will not all fit in these 2 molds, so I will have to grab a 3rd mold here in a minute. I would like to get a nice big mold that would take all the curd all at once, but I haven't found one that, you know, I can really afford or anything right this minute. I got a lot of other things going on that take money, and so I got to budget things a little bit. This is almost full. And show you this. So this is all I'm doing is just grabbing some curd out of the colander and putting it in here and just pressing it and packing it down as good as I can. And then I'm going to do the same thing, put the cheesecloth over it and put a follower on top. Oh goodness, I didn't realize I turned you off, so I don't know where I left off. Let me go check. Okay, so the part you missed was I took this board off. It's got 4 wing nuts on here, and I talked about this press, which I bought on Amazon. And you could make one, but this is all the metal parts are stainless steel, and I knew that I would probably have a hard time getting those in my little town. So I opted to spend the extra money just buying one, and it's okay. It is not the style of press I would like to end up with, but it does work, especially for just small batches. I'm just putting these wing nuts down the threaded rods, and they will help push this top board down, which will push down on all of the cheese. And then I'll look and see if we're at least fairly level and adjust it. And I do have some extra weights that I can add on. So like I can put these down finger tight, and maybe I can't get them any tighter lower with my fingers, but I can add some weight. And as the cheese curd kind of knits together and expresses the whey, and as and it kind of shrinks as it does that, and I can add weights on top of the board that will help accelerate that. Just trying to see if we're at least kind of level. That one's a little wonky looking, so I'm not sure. I'm going to turn that a little bit. Because sometimes we get out of whack. And it might just be my eyeballs. It might just be my eyeballs. But I can always put more pressure to one side than to the other to help level things up. And we'll come back after a while. Okay, it's the next morning, and we're gonna take these cheeses. Looks like we got a little cockeyed there, and we're gonna flip them over. I would normally have done this about 4 to 6 hours after I put them in, but I ended up having to take somebody to the next town down about 40 minutes from me, so I didn't get back till late, and so now I'm gonna do it now. Take the weights off and spin these guys. This is part of what I don't like about this style of cheese press, is because this is real fiddly and it's time consuming, so we'll speed this up. Okay, let's see if we can get these guys out of here now. Here we go. Okay. In there. Okay, so it didn't knit together super good, especially this bottom guy. You can see there's like little holes. These are not bad holes. These are just where the curd hasn't like knit together real good. So I'm going to put that back in. And put the cheesecloth and the follower back on. And then this one was on top of that one. This one looks a little bit better. Well, maybe not. Some parts of it look better than other parts. Flip it over, put it back in, cover it with the cheesecloth. Put the follower on it.
And now what I want to do is I want to take the one that was on the top and put it on the bottom. Okay. Trying to get everything kind of situated because I've got a couple of different cheesecloths here. Oh, oops, got interrupted by an alarm. Okay, I'm trying to figure out which cheesecloths go with which. Okay, there we go. There we go. So this is the one that was on the bottom, and actually I want it to end up on the top. It's got a lot of weight in this cheesecloth. I want to squeeze some of that out. And I'm actually going to move it over here for a minute. And I'm going to dump the whey off this tray. Okay. So let's situate this one. Okay. Sorting things out here. Okay. So we're going to put follower back on. I'm going to turn this guy around and put a follower back on this one. Like I have said before, we are not a pro at this at all. And now we're going to put the one that was on the bottom on the top and get this out of the way. Okay. Pull this up, see if I can juggle these into their spot without everybody sliding off onto the floor. All right. The Leaning Tower of Cheese here. See if I can get everything lined up and evened out. And the nuts on the bottom keep coming loose, and I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm twisting the rods when I put things down. So this side definitely needs to come down more. And now that it's flipped, I'm going to put more weight on it. I will add a gallon jug of water. The little weights that I had on top before are actually old weights from a weightlifting set. I kind of collected these from around the yard. I just put them in a clean baggie because they're a little rusty. And there's 2 of them, and they weigh 2.5 pounds each. So this has been pressing with just 5 pounds. But I am going to add a gallon of water, which is another about 8 or 9 pounds. So that will add more pressure and press out more whey out of the cheese. And hopefully it'll knit together pretty good. It looks like this batch could be a little bit crumbly. I don't know. We'll see what it looks like this evening. So anyway, we'll come back. So I have my 2 little weights plus a gallon of water, and it's already starting to put some more whey out. I can see in the tray. So we'll leave this and come back and check it later. Alrighty. Now I'm home from work. It's been a few hours. I want to take our Leaning Tower of Cheese apart and see what we look like. I'd probably flip them again.
So, more, more wing nuts. So, I'll be back in a minute. Alrighty. Got the wing nuts all loose. So, let's see if we can slide these molds out and see what we've got. Whoops. My little tower is here. Okay. Now we still got some holes. That could be maybe I used too much rennet, or maybe I let the curd sit too long before I drained it. Because it wasn't real soft enough to kind of knit together. So I am seeing, they call them mechanical holes. It's just where you have little holes. But it smells really good. So I'm going to call it good. I'm going to set them on a plate and let them kind of dry a little bit, get a little rind on them. Not a huge amount, not like you would if you were aging a cheddar or something like that, where you get a really thick, hard rind on the outside. Just enough so it's not like damp and it's not going to be as likely to mold. That one's was a little lopsided. Oh well. Lopsided is still tasty. A little chewy. Okay. It would probably be better if I did smaller batches. But what happens is I get so much milk built up in the refrigerator that I just have to do a big batch to make space. And since this takes a day or two to get this done with the size molds and press and everything that I have, you know, if I had 2 sets of molds and 2 presses, then that would be easier. I could do smaller batches like every day. This one looks a little bit better. You can see it's more knit together. I think this is the one that was on top yesterday and on the bottom today. There is a little bit of cracking right there, but not bad. Someone would let them get kind of a little bit of air. Turn you around. Yeah. So there's 3 little wheels of cheese. I could use a bigger cheese mold. I would really like to have one that would take all of the curd at once. Maybe I guess I should go check out Amazon. Alrighty, I'll catch you later. So these cheeses have been sitting for a little while I was doing some chores and stuff. I think I'm gonna just cut a piece off this kind of crumbly looking one. I'm wondering if that's the one that was on top and maybe it didn't get enough weight or something. I don't know. But it smells good. Smell. Take a bite. Oh, dry, a little crumbly. A tiny bit squeaky. But not horrible. And it would probably be really good in mac and cheese or nachos or something like that. So I want to take these other 2 and wrap them up and put them away in the freezer probably, and this one I'll eat this week. Anyway, that was making a Clabber cheese, just kind of feral kitchen stuff. So hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you like this kind of stuff, if you want to see more of these sorts of things, or if you want to see more baby goats or something. Anyway, catch y'all later. Bye.